Power and speed are undoubtedly the coolest tools in baseball.
Chicks dig the long ball.
When scouts grade players, they measure each of their tools on the 20 to 80 scale, with 20 being the worst, 50 is average, and 80 being the best in MLB. A prospect with 80 grade power and a rookie with 80 grade speed are about to take over the American League. These two guys are nearly exact opposites in terms of their play style, but both have inconceivable potential. No exaggeration, if all goes right, Jack Caglianone will hit 500-foot bombs in the bigs, and Chandler Simpson will steal 100 bases in a season. Cags will break exit velocity records. Simpson will do the same with sprint speed. Together, they might just save baseball. You probably know Caglianone from his time at University of Florida. He was billed college baseball's Ohtani. Pitching was his stronger skill out of high school. The 6'5" lefty was a top 200 draft prospect in 2021, until he tore his UCL a few weeks before the draft. With pro aspirations off the table, he went to Florida as a two-way player and planned on redshirting his freshman year to recover from Tommy John surgery. But instead, he was Florida's DH, putting up solid power numbers in 115 plate appearances. As a sophomore, he shattered Florida's single-season home run record, and also started 18 games on the mound. The Gators made it to the College World Series Finals, and ultimately fell one game short of the title. Cags bounced back from the loss by becoming even more of a monster at the plate his junior year. He broke his own single-season record by mashing 35 homers, and he finished 4th in all of D1 with a 1419 OPS. He broke the Florida career home runs record, homered in 9 straight games, and mashed this 516-foot bomb. Kansas City drafted him 6th overall that summer, but it was clear that his pitching was well behind his hitting. His ERA in 2024 was near 5. He struck out a lot of batters, but he was wild, walking over 6 batters per 9. Even with the intriguing size and velocity, he's yet to throw a pitch for the Royals organization. Jack claims that he's not done pitching for good, but it seems unlikely that he ever spends time pitching as a pro, especially considering just how well his bat has progressed. He's focused on improving his defense and hitting bombs. Not the next two-way star that so many imagined, but maybe the next Giancarlo Stanton instead. The second Chandler Simpson entered MLB, he became the worst power hitter in the league. Less power than Jose Iglesias, less power than Xavier Edwards, significantly less power than Luis Ariz. But in terms of speed, he's the next Billy Hamilton. Simpson grew up playing baseball in Atlanta, but he was an even better dancer. He was an all-conference and all-state shortstop his senior year of high school, with world-class speed and solid bat-to-ball skills. That being said, he was nowhere near the level of prospect that Caglianone was as a teen. Simpson went to University of Alabama, Birmingham, a team that consistently finishes near the bottom half of their mid-major conference. Now, that's still a D1 program, and playing D1 is an incredible accomplishment on its own. But they won just a third of their games during Simpson's first full season in 2021. It's incredibly unlikely that an under-recruited guy like Simpson ends up in MLB, especially with the numbers he put up at UAB. Most guys in his position are probably trying to figure out what to do with their career after baseball, but his speed was too much to ignore, and he was elite in the summer season of 2021, so Georgia Tech gave him a call when he hit the transfer portal. For the 2022 season, Simpson transferred to his hometown school, and he instantly broke out. Simpson led D1 baseball with a .434 average and put up a 1. OPS. He swiped 27 of 31 bags and walked at nearly double the rate that he struck out. Going from a mediocre hitter on a bad D1 team to one of the best D1 hitters on one of the best offenses in D1 ball is pretty remarkable. I'm not sure specifically what changed for Simpson that year, but it seems like his eye and his contact rates both improved drastically, and he utilized his speed to get on base over half the time he came up to bat. One big season was all the Rays needed to see. Tampa picked Simpson 70th overall in the draft that summer. You would think that an analytically focused team like Tampa would avoid a guy with such an old school skill set, but it speaks to just how good they think Simpson can be. It took just 2 full seasons after a position change for him to get the call to the show, and he's instantly made his mark on the biggest stage.
And it is a fair ball, and that is the first base hit for Simpson, and his dad is absolutely thrilled.
Before I do my deep dive, comparing and contrasting Simpson and Caglione's current and potential tools, here's a message from today's sponsor, Arena Club. You all remember the feeling of a fresh card pack in your hands, whether you were a baseball or Pokemon fan. Knowing that infinite possibilities rested in your hand was a one-of-one experience. If you want to hop back into collecting or feel that feeling again, Arena Club's slab packs are for you. Slab packs bring a modern digital convenience to one of my most nostalgic hobbies. They offer full transparency, showing you every single card available in the pack with each of their odds. Pick between Pokemon and your favorite sport and let the slab pack rip right there on the website. I got a Ken Griffey Jr. All Millennium card, and as you can see, Arena Club makes you an instant offer based on the card's market value. The slab is displayed with the grade and details, ready to be added directly to your digital showroom. From there, you can trade, sell, auction, or retrieve your physical card from the Arena Club vault. Arena Club is my go-to site for every step of the card collecting process, and that's just for the convenience alone. Right now, you can go to arenaclub.com/ATB and use code ATB for 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase. That's arenaclub.com/ATB with code ATB at checkout for 20% off. Thanks, Arena Club. If I wanted to talk about the best lefty slugging first base prospect from the 2024 draft, I would be making a Nick Kurtz video, but this video isn't about well-rounded prospects. This video is about contrasting Caglione's and Simpson's strengths and weaknesses. That's why I'm starting with the power tool, by far the biggest gap. It's easy for me to look at the guy who hit the 516-foot homer in college, point at the screen and say, oh my god, it's the next Giancarlo Stanton. It's not quite that simple, but it's about 90% of the way there. Metal bat college bombs are cool, but Caglione is more than a few fluky big hacks with BB-core bats. Cags just turned 22 this offseason, and he's hardly played 75 games of pro ball. That's just over 300 plate appearances, or about half a season's worth since turning pro. With such a small sample, there are really only a few worthwhile stats to look at. One of them is max exit velocity. Max EV shows a player's raw power potential. Most successful hitters in MLB have hit a ball in play at around 110 miles per hour. The biggest sluggers can hit them north of 115 miles per hour. The 120 mile per hour threshold marks the start of the elites. Giancarlo Stanton, O'Neal Cruz, Ronald Acuna, Aaron Judge, Vladdy Guerrero Jr., and Gary Sanchez. Those are the true 80-grade raw power hitters of the last decade. They make up every single one of the recorded 120 mile per hour batted balls in Major League history. These guys are the best of the best. This April, Jack Caglione smoked a base hit 120.9 miles per hour. Only 11 batted balls have been hit harder in StatCast history. That's a decade and change of the best major league hitters taking their best swings. And Caglione threw his hat in the ring in just over 50 games. Just to be fair, this number was recorded on a AA Stadium's TrackMan system, not with the StatCast Hawkeye system, so there is a higher chance that it was misread. Once he gets to AAA or MLB later this year, we'll have an unquestionable read on his raw power. I fully expect him to produce more 120 mile per hour hits in the future, and he'll live at the top of exit velocity leaderboards throughout his career. Depending on his batted ball profile and his plate discipline, he can be a 40 or even 50 homer guy in the bigs. Between Florida, the Arizona Fall League, and the minors, Cags has hit nearly 100 homers already. In contrast, since becoming a college baseball player, Chandler Simpson has hit 2. The first came on February 25th, 2022. At home against Gardner-Webb, Simpson pulled the ball over the right field wall, with some help of the right fielder. It wasn't just Simpson's first and only collegiate homer, it was also his first grand slam. His first, and to this point only, pro home run came for the Montgomery Biscuits on June 7th, 2024. It was also, shall we say, outfielder assisted. To reiterate, Chandler Simpson has never hit a single in-game homer that cleared the fence on its own, at least since high school. I'm sure he'll get one eventually, but he understands his strengths and weaknesses, and for that reason, he rarely swings for the fences. Going back to Max EV, as of May 2nd, 2025, Simpson has hit 108 balls in play recorded by StatCast. Just 6 of those have been over 100 miles per hour, and just 1 has been over 105. His raw and game power are about as low as possible for a major leaguer, the exact opposite of Caglianone. Chandler Simpson is Willie Mays Hayes. And Willie Mays Hayes could run. Chandler Simpson might have 90 grade speed. He is that fast. Simpson's top speed is up there with the best, like on this hard ground ball right to the first baseman that he beat out for a hit. But the thing that separates Chandler from the rest of the elite speedsters is his never before seen acceleration. According to J.J. Cooper of Baseball America, Simpson's bolt on this controversial infield hit against Max Fried was the fastest home to first time of the season. This was on the second hit of his career. Once he's up for a while, we'll have more data to prove just how quickly he gets to his top speed, and just how quickly he gets down the line. But for now, all I have are some of his speediest feats. Simpson stole 94 bases on 109 attempts in the minors in 2023. He stole 104 bases on 121 attempts last year in even fewer games. In his second career game at AAA, he drew a walk, stole second, stole third, and then scored on a wild throw to third. He once scored a game-tying run from second base on a sac fly in college. Calling him a 90 grade runner might be a little bit ridiculous, but he's at least an 80 grade, and once we have the data, we'll be able to compare his speed to Billy Hamilton for the ultimate fastest MLB player ever crowned. Jack Caglianone has swiped 13 bags in 16 attempts across his college and pro career. He has a 40 grade run tool on both Fangraphs and Pipeline, so I'll trust that since I don't really have any other data to go off of. Here's him slamming on the brakes at second on a play where Simpson would have been rounding third. And here's him oversliding the third base bag on what would have been his 4th ever triple since high school. Caglianone can move for a big guy, and his top speed doesn't look awful, but his base running and speed aren't assets. He's just fast enough to not be a liability. But who even needs speed when all you do is try? Defense matters and is very important, and good defenders are very cool. But as long as Caglianone doesn't wear a stone glove at first base, his defense shouldn't matter all that much. That is, if he plays first base. It was the only position he played in college besides pitcher. If he can pick the ball and move his feet, he can at least be an average defender at first. There aren't very many defensive highlights of his, but most scouts grade him as below average with average potential. The more interesting premise is Cags moving to the outfield. This guy has a monster arm that would go to waste at first base, and the Royals have Vinny P and Salvi getting most of their reps at the position. If Cags can read a fly ball, right field might just be perfect for him. He just played his first game in the outfield last week, and even though he might look like a baby giraffe sometimes, he's athletic enough to make it worth trying. Kansas City's outfield is cavernous, but with Hunter Renfroe currently stinking it up and right, I don't think Caglianone could be much worse. I never expect him to be a plus outfielder, but as long as he's not detrimentally bad out there, it might be worth it for the Royals. At first base, Cags will probably be anywhere from slightly subpar to slightly above average. In right field, he's probably average at best, but he has to get a lot of reps in out there for that to be possible. For the purposes of this video, I'd love it if neither Cags nor Chandler played the outfield once in college and then made MLB as outfielders. Simpson was a mediocre middle infielder, so the Rays moved him to the outfield immediately after the draft. He's only been playing out there for a few years, but he's already getting comfortable out in center. In the first week of his MLB career, he made this 20% catch probability play look fairly routine, and this was without an elite jump. He used his 1-of-1 acceleration to reach 29 feet per second and run the ball down in the gap. A few days later, he robbed Manny Machado of a homer in an eerily reminiscent play. We need to see a bigger sample size of his metrics out there, but with his speed, acceleration, and improving reaction time, he could genuinely be an elite center fielder. His arm isn't amazing by any account, but it shouldn't matter all that much if he's running down every ball in the gaps. Simpson's defense is his key to having a floor as an everyday player. If his defense was average or worse, he would probably need to max out his offensive potential to start as a major leaguer. Playing great outfield defense allows him to hit below average and still be valuable, which means he'll get a lot of at-bats, hit a lot of singles, and steal a lot of bases, even if that's all he does on offense. This aspect of the game is definitely more important to Simpson than Cags. As I said, the easiest comp for Simpson is Billy Hamilton. Hamilton's unbelievable range and big arm in center allowed him to produce 5 solid seasons as a starter despite being one of the worst hitters to get regular playing time. If Simpson defends similarly and gets on base slightly more, he might be a 100 stolen base threat with the new base running rules. That depends on him both reaching his ceiling on defense and developing as a hitter. The hit tool is the catalyst for whether or not Simpson and Cags make it in this league. Simpson is already graded as a high-level hit tool prospect, with Pipeline and Fangraphs both giving him a 70 potential. He has never once finished a season with a strikeout rate above 10%. For context, Hamilton's career strikeout rate was over 20%, and most of his career came in an era where average pitchers weren't throwing this. At his very best, Simpson can maybe sustain a strikeout rate below 10% for a full MLB season. It's more likely that he ends up around 12 to 15%, which is still much better than average, but not in the elite category. He swings a lot and he won't whiff often, but his quality hit tool is more than just putting the bat on the ball and running it out. He absolutely hits a lot of weak grounders, and he'll benefit from his speed by beating out a ton of infield hits, but he's also very good at hitting humpback liners into the outfield, a la Luis Ariz. As long as he's putting the bat on the ball, Simpson's average on balls in play will be amongst the best in baseball. He should be able to maintain a near 300 average in the bigs, if not better than that. My main concern with his profile is honestly his walk rate. He had pretty solid walk rates during college and throughout most of his minor league career. He doesn't chase a ton, but minor leaguers have much worse command, so it's much easier to lay off bad pitches. MLB pitchers, on the other hand, know that Simpson is a zero power threat. Simpson's best tool is his speed. They are rarely gonna give him the free pass. They'll pound his weakest zones of attack and not worry about missing over the middle. I would be shocked if Simpson walks above 5% in the bigs, which means he needs to hit 300 to get on base enough to not suck at hitting. I grade his discipline as a 35 and his current hit tool as a 55, with a potential 70. All in all, looking at Simpson's grades, he might be the most unique player in MLB. His floor is Billy Hamilton with a higher average and worse defense. His ceiling is Juan Pierre with better defense. His absolute 100th percentile perfect outcome season is probably something like 10% above league average hitting, Gold Glove defense in center field, and 100 stolen bases. In this most perfect of perfect seasons, he could tally 6 or maybe 7 WAR without hitting for a lick of power. I don't think there's another player in this sport where that's even conceivable. A prime season in his 50th percentile outcome will probably look something like a 290 average, 80 WRC plus, 40 to 50 steals, and plus defense and center, totaling about 3 WAR. His floor is relatively high since his defense and base running are really good, so even if his bat really sucks, he should have a role in this league. I like Simpson a lot because of his play style, and I hope he succeeds so MLB has a fun, athletic, and unique player to market. I'm sure he'll be a fixture on MLB's social media pages for the better part of the next decade because of his otherworldly speed. This is the style of play every old man dreams MLB will return to, and Simpson might just be the final hope for small ball in MLB. Now, back to Caglianone. His hit tool and discipline are by far the most important aspects of his development if he's going to succeed in this league. Power on its own is one of the most valuable tools. Just look at Simpson. He needs every other tool to make up for not having any power. But the power tool can be negated if the hitter can't hit. In college, Caglianone could hit. He struck out just 14% of the time and walked over 10%. That's slightly deceiving since nearly half of his walks were intentional, but he still cut down his strikeout rate a ton during his last season at Florida. Since turning pro, he struck out about 20% of the time, which isn't bad but also isn't great against minor league pitching. I don't have his professional whiff, chase, or swing data outside of 23 spring training plate appearances, so when it comes to discipline, I really can't look under the hood much more than that. What I do know is that he has a very long swing and he chased a lot in college. In 2023, he chased 44% of balls outside the zone. That was still 39% in 2024. Chasing in college isn't nearly as damaging, especially for a guy who knows he's being pitched around most of the time. He probably did a lot of damage on bad balls. But if he wants to succeed in the bigs, either the chase rate has to improve or he has to continue punishing much better bad balls. Fangraphs gives Cags a 40 potential hit tool, while Pipeline gives him a 50. Since his strikeout rates have never been really high, I feel like it's preemptive to say he's a 40 grade hit tool. If the Royals call him up this year, I could see strikeouts and whiffs being a problem. His absolute bottom of the barrel floor is probably Nomar Mazara, who also had elite max exit velo but never put it together with a bat outside of some homers. His absolute ceiling, 100th percentile outcome as a hitter, is Shohei Ohtani. Elite batted ball data, elite exit velocities, and elite home run rates with average strikeouts. And who knows, maybe a return to the bump one day. A still very high percentile outcome that's slightly more reasonable is Giancarlo Stanton. Top of the line bat speed and power, but well worse than average contact rates and strikeouts. My bold prediction is that Jack Caglianone ends up somewhere between Joey Gallo and Giancarlo Stanton. I see him as a future 3 to 4 WAR slugger, who has some seasons near the top of the home run leaderboards, and he'll serve a key role in the Royals lineup by protecting WHIP. He's in his first year as a full-time hitter, and he's only 22, so a ton can change in either direction. Defense, discipline, and strikeouts are all massive question marks, which makes his floor much lower than Chandler's. But his unteachable power, paired with the potential to improve his other skills, makes his ceiling dizzyingly high.
As Jack Caglianone hits 20 and 21 here this afternoon.
Well, he's caught the hearts of the fans here, that's for sure, that came out today.
Shout out to my channel members who are watching this video early. Misty, Zach G, Adam, Ethan, Alex, Mammoth, Zach E, Vikram, El Quacko, and Richard Hamilton. If you want to support the channel financially, hit that join button below for $4 a month. You'll get shoutouts, early access to new videos, spreadsheets, and more. I recently got copyright claimed on a lot of my old videos for the music I used. I've re-uploaded most of those, but the original versions are still accessible to channel members. I also have some ideas for some more casual, members-exclusive content, sort of like what Foolish Baseball does over on Foolish Bailey. Anyway, thanks so much for watching.